Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining.
Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. Today is Grizzlies Media Day, and it might be a weird time to record, which is 4 hours before Media Day begins, but I figured there was enough Grizzlies news that I could go ahead and hit it, and then, of course, I'll respond to the news that comes out later this afternoon as the Grizzlies actually face the media. Unfortunately, I will not be there in Memphis. I have responsibilities in Nashville, but I will be following along online, and hopefully we'll find out some answers to the pressing questions like, is Steven Adams okay? Because if Steven Adams is not okay, that's going to be a big yikes for the Grizzlies. But before we get to media day, I did want to talk about the transactions the Grizzlies made over the weekend as they have presumably finalized their training camp roster. I also thought I would mention the Damian Lillard trade and then the subsequent Jrue Holiday trade to the Celtics, and I'll talk about how that affects the Grizzlies, and also I'll look at the Grizzlies promotional calendar. So before we do all that, just a reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You have until Wednesday, October 4th, to sign up for Underdog Fantasy and take advantage of their massive new user deposit boost. They will match your opening deposit up to $500 right now if you use promo code FBBF or use the sign-up link in this episode's description. So if you want to play fantasy sports for money, it's a great time to sign up right now. They will match your opening deposit up to $500. Also, depending on what state you live in, they will give you a free higher or lower pick. So check out Underdog Fantasy and use that promo code FBBF. Okay. Over the weekend, the Grizzlies waived Isaiah Todd and Josh Christopher. These were players on guaranteed deals. These are players we assumed they would eventually waive, but they went ahead and took care of it before of training camp to bring in some guys they wanted in training camp. They brought in Matthew Hurt and Mychal Mulder. More on those guys in a second. I think even though this move was expected and anticipated, like we thought it was going to happen before opening night, I think there's still a little bit of disappointment about maybe not being able to see what Josh Christopher can do, to see what Isaiah Todd can do. We knew there was a roster crunch, but I think when you have a Grizzlies roster that has so many familiar faces, like we're returning so many players year after year, I understand wanting to see just some new talent, and especially some talent that has really high draft pedigree, and just seeing how they fit in and how maybe they would be some players that we want to take a longer look at. But it didn't happen. And we knew when the Grizzlies acquired Isaiah Todd and Josh Christopher, they didn't proactively seek those guys out. Those salaries were the price of doing business. They got Josh Christopher. That was the price for making the sign-in trade with Dillon Brooks and getting the Dillon Brooks trade exception. Isaiah Todd, getting him from the Suns was the price of that kind of odd draft pick swap where the Grizzlies sent 3 second-round picks to the Suns, and in exchange, they got Isaiah Todd, and they also got this, like, quote-unquote lottery ticket where they have a chance for 2 first-round pick swaps with the Suns. Those pick swaps might be slightly unlikely to occur, but hey, you're telling me there's a chance. So, like, we knew that they didn't proactively seek these guys out because they were interested in them. But going back to the draft pedigree thing, like, Isaiah Todd was the first pick of the second round in 2021. Josh Christopher was the 24th pick in 2021. Both of these players are still 21 years old. And admittedly, both of their stats in the NBA are awful. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't have a positive memory of Isaiah Todd playing in the NBA. Like, there's a chance I've never seen him play. Josh Christopher, I'm more familiar with his stuff, but like both of their NBA stints so far have been really, really bad. Despite Josh Christopher having a 30-point game as a rookie, all his stats are miserable. And so, like, all right, maybe they're not any good, but it's just that tantalizing seeing someone new that I think maybe some fans kind of latched onto. And of course, I mean, Josh Christopher has a lot of fans, a lot of online defenders, people who think he can play and deserves a spot in the league. And if you're one of those people, I think the question for the Grizzlies has always been, well, then who are you getting rid of? And that is where we end up with the conclusion. He was never going to be on the team. Like, if you're waiving anyone, it's Kenneth Lofton Jr. And I don't know if many people out there are like, yeah, waive Kenneth Lofton Jr. for Josh Christopher. I haven't encountered the person who's saying that yet. There's no one else you can waive on the roster. If you're using a roster spot on Derrick Rose, everybody else is locked up and you're not getting rid of any of them. There's no consolidation trade where we're sending out multiple players to open up a roster spot. That's not happening. I see some frustrated fans always talking about like Conchar. Again, reminder, Conchar signed for 4 years and $21 million. No one's waiving Conchar. Also, Conchar, I think, is going to play a big role, an important role on the Grizzlies this season. So the short offseason tenure of Josh Christopher and Isaiah Todd has concluded on the Grizzlies. Also, professionally, it probably was good for the Grizzlies to help both of these players out by waiving them now. This gives them an opportunity maybe to see if they can find a two-way slot on somebody else's team. The Grizzlies, reminder, cannot waive guys on guaranteed contracts and then sign them to two-way spots. That would end up being basically salary cap circumvention. So the Grizzlies waive them. Now Josh Christopher and Isaiah Todd can go see if they can catch on with another team. Honestly, I'm hopeful because of the draft pedigree I mentioned, because they're still both 21. I'd be super excited if the Grizzlies found a way to put them on the hustle. Like, if those guys could be on the hustle this year, you get it's not a free look. You're literally paying their salaries. But you get a look at these guys to see if they could turn into anything more. I think that would be a great benefit. So, Josh Christopher, I enjoyed watching some of your summer runs, putting some of those highlights in these video episodes, but it doesn't look like his next stop is going to be on the actual Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the two guys they signed, all right, we know one of them pretty well, Matthew Hurt. Matthew Hurt played on the Grizzlies Summer League team. He played for the Hustle all of last season, played 28 games on the Hustle, and he made 39% of his three-pointers on the Hustle. He is a just stretch big. He doesn't really have, I think, classic big man skills. He's not a rim protector. He's not really a rebounder, to my understanding. He is just a tall guy who shoots the ball really, really well. So I assume he's here for training camp and to continue to play on the Hustle this year. Now, the Mychal Mulder signing, this is a guy I'm a little bit intrigued by because he's a point guard. Oh, guess what? We probably need point guards. He also has NBA experience. He played 3 seasons ago. He played 60 games on the Warriors. He shot nearly 40% from three that season. His career three-point percentage is right at 36%. He did not play in the NBA last year. He spent the whole year in the G League playing for the Sioux Falls Skyforce. On the Skyforce, he made 40% of his threes on over 10 attempts per game. Now, he's 29. He's not a spring chicken, so to speak. He's not really an upside prospect, but he sounds exactly to me like an emergency point guard option. In the first 25 games, when Ja Morant is out, maybe this guy could be one of the options. I think a few things could happen with Mychal Mulder. Maybe just one, he's here to play on the Hustle and to be a good guard, a shooter, a point guard for the Hustle. Maybe he's here to take Jacob Gilyard's role. Maybe Jacob Gilyard and him will both be on the Hustle. Maybe Jacob Gilyard keeps his two-way spot. Maybe so Mulder's going to play on the Hustle. Gilyard will stay with the team a little bit more. Maybe it's giving them a different look. I think possibly Mychal Mulder could be competing for this extra roster spot that's going to happen once Ja Morant goes on the suspended players list 6 games into the year. We talked with Chris Harrington last week. Chris Harrington talked about how Shaq Harrison could be that guy. Shaq Harrison can guard point guards. He's more of an all-around kind of rebounder defender in the backcourt, but he's not a playmaker. He's not a ball handler necessarily to me. Mychal Mulder is, and Mychal Mulder is a shooter. And like if you compare him just to Jacob Gilyard, like unfortunately Jacob Gilyard, very, very small. Mychal Mulder, 6'3", more of your typical NBA point guard size. Also, Mychal Mulder is a shooter. Jacob Gilyard is not. He made threes, but it takes him a long time to shoot, and he basically shoots because guys go under the screens and leave him wide open. Mulder is a more typical NBA-style point guard, and so I think him being signed, maybe it is just for the hustle. Of course, the hustle traded for his G League rights back on September 1st. Apologies for not covering that transaction on this show. Maybe it's just for the hustle, but I think there's a good chance this is another guy they're going to take a long look at. Maybe it's for Jacob Gilyard's two-way spot, but probably it might be a option for the Grizzlies to sign as that extra roster player once Ja Morant goes on the suspended players list. So I like this transaction. This is the type of guy I would say that makes sense to me. Emergency point guard. I think we need ball handling. If Derrick Rose is unavailable or ineffective, if Marcus Smart misses a game, if we have any injuries in the backcourt while Ja Morant is suspended, Mychal Mulder sounds like a guy who can fill in. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Again, I don't know if Josh Christopher and Isaiah Todd might end up on the hustle, but these two signings, the Matthew Hurt and Mychal Mulder signings ahead of training camp, Matthew Hurt, I think safe to say that's just about the hustle. Mychal Mulder could be about the hustle, but also we could, I think, see him play for the Grizzlies in the regular season under a couple of different scenarios. Now, this weekend also in the NBA, nationally, bunch of huge news. Landscape shifting deals. The Portland Trailblazers finally traded Damian Lillard. They sent him, of course, I'm sure you all know, to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks think they have improved by adding the deep shooting, half-court offense generating all-star point guard they needed. They think that's going to make up for losing the defense of Jrue Holiday. Both Dame and Jrue pretty old. I think they're both 33 years old. But Damian Lillard seems like he's solidifying the Bucks as an absolute like inner circle title contender. Like Damian Lillard going to a team where he won't be the best player. That seems pretty good. That seems pretty good for the Bucks. Now, this trade I don't think had much of an effect on the Grizzlies. I had a couple of ripples that I think maybe do affect us as Grizzlies fans. One, I think it entrenches the Bucks as being just definitely better than the Grizzlies. I don't know if that is a thing you think about. It's a thing I think about. So like it makes the Bucks, I think, clearly a tier above the Grizzlies. It also, I think, long-term hurts the Suns. I think the Suns in this deal, like they basically just salary dumped DeAndre Ayton. As a Grizzlies fan, that makes me happy. I think the Suns are better than the Grizzlies right now because of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. But like going forward, I think they're being very short-sighted. They have talked about, or people have talked about this trade as the Suns acquiring more depth, like acquiring more pieces that'll help them in the regular season. I mean, maybe. But like if you believe Woj's reporting, they didn't even care if they got Grayson Allen. Like this is like how, you know, how the Grizzlies didn't proactively go get Josh Christopher. The Suns did not proactively get Grayson Allen because they thought they needed him. They just needed matching salary. And there's like talk in Woj's article about like just a mystery player. They just like, whatever, just give us a player. We have to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. So I think it slightly weakens the Suns this year. I definitely think it weakens the Suns going forward. So as a Grizzlies podcaster, that part of it, I think, encourages me. And that's how I think the trade affected the Grizzlies a little bit. Now, after this trade, where the Trailblazers pick up DeAndre Ayton, also Jrue Holiday, and a pick and 2 pick swaps from the Bucks. They then trade out Jrue Holiday to the Celtics. So not only did Joe Cronin of the Trailblazers not trade with the Miami Heat for Damian Lillard, they have now bolstered 2 Eastern Conference teams that seem now way better than the Miami Heat. They've bolstered the Bucks, and they've bolstered the Celtics. The Celtics pick up Jrue Holiday. The Celtics use the Warriors 2024 pick that the Grizzlies traded them for Marcus Smart. The Celtics use that, plus Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams, and another unprotected pick in the future to acquire Jrue Holiday. The Celtics, now, on paper, way better than our Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, they have Jrue Holiday and Derek White in the backcourt. They have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, of course, And then Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. Like, that is an awesome collection of NBA players whose skills do not overlap. Like the Suns, I'm a little bit down on relatively to a lot of people just because the skills overlap of a lot of their best players. Like the Celtics look to be incredible. And maybe their front court has injury concerns and age concerns, but like front court players, in my mind, are the most easily replaceable. Like you can find a guy to play 20 minutes, to be a big. Randomly, it just popped in my head like Jrue Eubanks, Jock Landale. These are guys you kind of just found. These teams, credit to them. They found useful bigs. You can find a useful big. You can sign a Bismack Biyombo type. Finding wings who are all-stars who can create their own shots and score 30 points per game, and then finding guards who play all NBA level defense and can also score, and like Derek White and Jrue Holiday, that team is terrifying. And I mean, frankly, I'll be honest, I feel disappointed as a Grizzlies fan, basically to have helped in just our own small way, to have helped a little bit. I feel disappointed to have Marcus Smart when you compare it to Jrue Holiday. I mean, Jrue Holiday is not a perfect fit alongside Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, and maybe there was no way the Grizzlies could have ever gotten Jrue Holiday. They couldn't have matched the salaries. Like their offer that they could have put together, probably not as good as what the Celtics sent out. But just playing a tiny little role of having our pick be included, of trading Tyus Jones and 2 firsts, the first in last year's draft, and then that Warriors first, to get Marcus Smart when like Jrue Holiday just went for, I mean, he went for more, but like Jrue Holiday is way better than Marcus Smart. Maybe the fit with Marcus Smart's a little bit better, but man, I feel it's not reasonable. I mean, I feel disappointed. Like you can't build your team, I guess, worrying about what might happen. I mean, obviously all NBA GMs are keeping an eye on the league and thinking, all right, if this happens, then this happens, this player might be free. But like, if you feel like Marcus Smart's the great fit, he checks all those boxes that we needed. Someone to replace Dillon Brooks, someone to fill in for Ja Morant when he's out, someone to also be able to play alongside Ja Morant and handle backup point guard duties, maybe a little bit better than Tyus Jones could have. Marcus Smart checked all those boxes. So it's probably not reasonable for me to be upset or just be like, oh man, what could have been? But I think it is reasonable to be a little bit sad that like we're not nearly as good as those teams, in my mind at least. Like the Bucks, the Nuggets, and the Celtics, way better than the Grizzlies. And this is even like Grizzlies when totally healthy. If Steven Adams tells us he's perfectly fine, if Ja Morant stays on great behavior when he gets returned from suspension, I don't think the Grizzlies are one of the shortlist title contenders. I also think they're still trailing the Lakers and the Warriors and the Suns in our conference. And I think overall, as a Grizzlies fan, if we like turn the clock back to 2 years ago when the Grizzlies lost to the Warriors in the second round, I think we thought this was the beginning of being in that inner circle of title contenders every single year. And last year, by the end of the playoffs, in my opinion, like the Nuggets and the Warriors and the Lakers and the Heat and the Celtics and the Bucks and the Sixers, all those teams were better than the Grizzlies at the end of the season last year. And now coming into this season, the Grizzlies are somewhere, in my mind, around like 7th as far as like most likely to win the title. I think as Grizzlies fans, you can be like, no, we're 4th. We're 5th. That's fine. You're not going to find a non-Grizzlies fan, I think, to support your argument. I think consensus is, like, I'm lower on the Suns. I think the Grizzlies healthy might be as good as the Suns, but pretty sure the Suns would take us in a playoff series. Like, I don't think we can match their half-court scoring. I don't think our defense is going to be able to carry us against the Suns' firepower. So I think the Suns are better. The Bucks and Celtics clear, in my mind, better. The Nuggets are better. That's 4 right there. I think the Warriors and the Lakers are better. That's 5 and 6. Luckily, the Sixers have taken a back seat. The Sixers are having their own problems with James Harden. They're not as good. The Heat got worse. They lost players. They were not able to acquire some of these players. So, like, I think the Grizzlies are somewhere around like the 6th, 7th, 8th best team when fully healthy, and that's the optimist's view. I think an unbiased observer might put them somewhere between 5th and like 12th because they're still unknown teams. What if the Clippers get Malcolm Brogdon? That makes the Clippers pretty good. What if the Timberwolves, it all comes together for them? What if Luka and Kyrie figure it out? What if the Thunder are amazing? Like the Thunder could be amazing. So I think there is, natural disappointment for a Grizzlies fan to go from, or to remember how we thought we were going to be one of the best teams in the NBA for years and years and years on end, to now be like, I don't think we're a top 5 title contender, and I don't know what moves we can make to get there. Like, we're depending so much on Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. growth. When you look at the Celtics being kind of a super team and the Bucks and the Suns all having all these players, and then, of course, the Nuggets are champions and the Lakers got better, it's a little bit daunting. And the Warriors got Chris Paul. Like, it's daunting. I am happy, by the way, that the Warriors did not get Jrue Holiday. I'm happy that Jrue Holiday is going to the Eastern Conference. Also, maybe a way the Damian Lillard trade sort of also affects the Grizzlies. Damian Lillard going to the Eastern Conference. One more All-Star spot has opened up. Go get it, Desmond Bane. We believe in you. All right, finally, let's talk about the Grizzlies promotional calendar. It's always fun to see when that releases. There's some good stuff in there. The most exciting thing for me is the return of the luchador masks for wrestling night on March 16th. Hopefully it'll be a new and updated design. I love me a luchador mask. There also will be a Jawaiian shirt giveaway for the Blazers game on March 2nd. There's a Marcus smartphone case giveaway for social media night. That's pretty clever. That's on January 13th. Frankly, if you're an out-of-towner, I recommend traveling to Memphis for the back-to-back home games on January 12th and 13th. The game on the 12th will be against the Clippers, and there's a Jaren Jackson Jr. growth chart giveaway. I assume that's going to be similar to the old 7-foot Marc Gasol banner they gave away years ago. That was at a Bucks game, I remember, because I was there. So that's a good giveaway. And then on the next night, they play the Knicks, January 13th. That is social media night. Go get your Marcus Smart iPhone case. Check out all the cool giveaways that the Grizzlies are doing for this upcoming season. And stay, I guess, plugged in today, all day on Monday for Grizzlies Media Day to hear, hopefully, some interesting quotes from our Grizzlies players and Taylor Jenkins and Zach Kleiman. Anyways, I appreciate you guys listening to this pre-Media Day episode. The Grizzlies play on Sunday. They play the Pacers this coming Sunday, so that's something very, very exciting to look forward to. I can't wait. Anyways, if you want to support this show and the work I do here, consider going to patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast and signing up. If you sign up over there, you can join our listener Slack channel. There is a Grits and Grinds channel you can join. Also, if you support my Patreon, you can play fantasy basketball with me in either a regular categories league or in my proprietary negative fantasy league. It's a lot of fun. You also get bonus episodes of Fast Break Breakfast over there. So go to patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast to help keep these videos coming out. Remember that promo code FBBF at Underdog Fantasy. Anyways, hope you have a great Monday. I'll talk to you very soon. Go Grizz.